Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Or good afternoon or good morning, depending where it is in the world you're watching this, or indeed at what time. Welcome to the Seton Burns Club, and thank you for joining us for our celebration of the life and times of our national treasure and national bard, Robert Burns. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ian MacLeod, the chairman of Seton Burns Club. This is a position I've held for many years now. And despite the passage of time and the fact that I've now presided over more than 40 Burns suppers, I've never lost the sense of honour and privilege that it brings me, nor indeed the enthusiasm and passion that we bring to our celebrations. This year, 2021, indeed tonight, on the 30th of January, we would have been hosting our 35th annual Burns Supper in our physical home of Cockenzie and Portseton Royal British Legion, welcoming somewhere between 130 and 150 people for an evening of great food, excellent company, toasts, speeches, songs, laughter and poetry, made all the more convivial by the occasional sip of Scotland's other national treasure. Also, in 3 weeks' time, we would have been hosting our 18th annual Lads and Lasses Supper, an event of identical scope and size, and in total across these two events we would have hosted somewhere between 250 and 300 people. Sadly, as everyone will know, those types of gatherings are simply impossible, indeed illegal, in the context of the current global pandemic. And so, Seton Burns Club has decided to innovate. Tonight, we will be hosting our first ever virtual Burns Supper. Over the next hour or so, we will celebrate and enjoy some of the best of Burns's works via poetry, music and song, and we've enlisted a stellar cast to achieve this. Our artists range from 17-year-old girls from our local community to well-known members of our own and neighbouring Burns clubs, to a world champion poetry reciter, and to a past president of the Robert Burns World Federation. Now, as you can see, we haven't dressed ourselves up in tartan paraphernalia, nor indeed insisted that our artists present themselves wearing club ties and smart suits. We've taken the view that we can relax together and enjoy an informal celebration. We're not going to have any speeches, we're simply focusing our event on music, songs, poetry and companionship. It's heartening to know that despite the dark cloud cast by the pandemic and it preventing us from having our normal intensely social events, the silver lining in that cloud is that by hosting our celebration in this virtual fashion, we can reach out to people who would otherwise be unable to join us, either for example through infirmity or indeed geography. So I know, for example, we have people watching us this evening from all over the UK and from some places overseas. I know that we have people from France, Canada, Australia and the United States with us on our broadcast this evening. And I extend to you all, wherever you may be, an especially warm and hearty welcome. Now, Burns himself was of course both a patriot and an internationalist. And he believed in the simple truth that all men and all women were created equal and had equal gifts to give. He unashamedly declared love for his native land, but he did so in such a way without expressing disdain or superiority towards other nations. His works speak eloquently of the rights of man and of women, of the power of love and of the injustices of greed. His mastery of language was used to describe the beauty of nature, the ache of loss, the uncertainty of life, and the pompous hypocrisy of the church. Now, the language he used is sometimes different from the language we use today. Language is, of course, a fluid, ever-changing thing, constantly developing and evolving. The words used by my grandfather's generation of fishermen are quite different from the vocabulary that we use today, and my grandfather would have said the same about his grandfather's generation. And so, with the passage of more than 2.5 centuries, this makes some of Burns's language a little difficult and inaccessible to us today. But the sentiments he expressed, the emotions and basic truths that he talked about, are as relevant and as powerful today as they were in the late 1780s. Now tonight we have curated a small collection of the best of his works and have recruited some of the finest exponents of the craft to recite, sing and play them for you. In so doing, we are joining together to keep Robert Burns's memory alive in our hearts and minds, to ensure that his legacy is never lost or forgotten and that our younger generation don't miss out on these wonderful gifts. By doing so, we are in our own way keeping the memory of Robert Burns immortal. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to raise your glass and join with me in a toast to the immortal memory of Robert Burns. I'd like to thank our young piper for the lament to Robert Burns. Cara's Grieve is 17. She's in her final year at our local high school, Preston Lodge, and she's one of our community's finest examples of her generation. She's a house captain at the high school and a sports mentor. She's a winner of the Scottish Cup at under 15 level, and she's soon to head off to the United States on a sports scholarship to a prestigious college. And as you've just heard, she's a very talented piper. So well done, Caris. Fantastic. And now it's my pleasure to ask our very own Duncan Morgan to give the address to the haggis.
Fair fa your on this sunset face, great chieftain o' the puddin' race, abin them all ye take your place, bench, tripe or theorem, will are ye worthy o' grace, as lang's my arm. The groaning trencher there ye fill, your hardies like a distant hill, your pin would help to mend a mill in time o' need, while through your pores the dews distill, like amber bead. His knife, see rustic labour dicht, and cut ye up a ready slicht, trenching your gut ends entrails brick like one a ditch, and then, oh, what a glorious sight. Warm, reeking, rich. Then horn for horn they stretch and strive, deal tack the hindmost and on they drive, till all their wheel swalp kites belive are bent like drums, and then all good man must like to rive, the thank it hums. Is there that our his French ragout, or olio with stow a sou, or fricassee with makers pew with perfect scunner, looks doon with sneer and scorn for view on sic a dinner. Pear devil see him ower his trash, as feckless as a wither drash, his spindle shank a good whiplash, his knee a nicked. Through bloody flood and field to dash, oh how unfit. But Mark the rustic haggis fed, the trembling earth resounds his tread. Clap on his walling eve a blade, he'll mak it whistle, and legs and arms and heads will sned like taps of thistle. Ye powers who mark mankind your care, and dish them out their bill of fare. Old Scotland wants nae skinking weird joups and luggies, but if you wish her great for prayer, gie her a haggis.
Thank you very much indeed, Duncan, for that excellent rendition of the haggis. Duncan, ladies and gentlemen, recently turned 80 years young, and as you've just seen, his passion for the bard burns as brightly as ever. In Seton Burns Club, we always look to encourage people to learn a poem and to have a go at one of our suppers, and we often suggest that learning the address to the haggis is an excellent starting point. To anyone who would like to have a go, just follow Duncan's example. That's how to do it. And get in touch with us and we'll give you a shot. Now this point marks the moment at a live burn supper where the grace would be offered and the meal served. In our virtual setting, we're obviously not going to have a full formal meal tonight, but you may be enjoying a snack with your dram, and Burns's Selkirk grace is so well known, so traditional and so appropriate that it seems a shame not to say it. So, some hae meat and canna eat, and some would eat but want it. But we hae meat and we can eat, and say the Lord be thanked. Amen. Enjoy your snacks, ladies and gentlemen, and now we're going to be entertained by a couple of songs from my good friend Gareth Evans.
Scots wha hae wi Wallace bled, Scots one Bruce has often led. Welcome to your gory bed, or to victory. Now's the day and now's the hour. See the front o' battle up. See approach proud Edward's power. Chains and slavery. Wha will be a traitor knave? Wha can fill a coward's grave? Wha sae base as be a slave? Let him turn and flee. Wha for Scotland's king and law? Freedom's sword will strongly draw. Free man stand or free man fall. Let him follow me. By oppression's woes and pains, by your sons in servile chains, we will drain our dearest veins, but they shall be free. Lay the proud usurpers low, tyrants fall in every folk, liberties in every blow. Let us do of thee. Scots wha hae wi Wallace bled, Scots one Bruce has often led. Welcome to your gory bed, or to victory. Now's the day and now's the hour. See the front o' battle learn. See approach proud Edward's path, chains and slavery. Now's the day and now's the hour. See the front, oh battle Lord. Welcome to your glory bed, or to victory, or to victory, or to victory. Banks and braes, oh bonny dew, how can you bloom so fresh and fair? How can ye chant, ye little birds, while I am so weak, full of care? Break my heart, thou warbling bird that flits through the flowering thorn. You remind me of departed joy, departed never to return. Did we roam by bonny dew to see the rose and woodbines wide, and ilka bird sang of its love, and fondly so did I for mine. Lightsome heart, I pulled a rose so sweet upon this thorny tree, but my false lover stole my rose, and all she left the thorn with me. Banks and braes, oh bonny dew, how can you bloom so fresh and fair? How can ye chant, ye little birds, while I am so weary, full of care? Break my heart, thou warbling bird that flits through the flowering thorn. You remind me of departed joy, departed never to return. Break my heart, thou warbling bird that flits through
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. For those of you who don't know him, Gareth is a chemistry teacher and also the head of the science department at Preston Lodge High School. In so doing, he's carrying on a family tradition, as his father was a chemistry teacher when I was at Preston Lodge more than 40 years ago. He's a very talented man and a great friend to us here at Seton Burns Club, and we're very grateful for his contribution. 2 beautiful Burns songs, beautifully performed. Thank you very much indeed, Gareth. And now we come to the second of our poems. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Jane Brown, past president of the Robert Burns World Federation, for her version of To a Mouse.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for asking me along this evening. Strange times. Anyway, I'm going to do a poem by Robert Burns, To a Moose. Wee sleekit coorin timorous beastie, oh what a panic's in thy breastie. Thou needna start a wa sae hasty with bickering brattle. I would be laith to run and chase thee with murder and pattle. I'm truly sorry man's dominion has broken nature's social union and justifies that ill opinion that makes thee startle at me, thy poor earth-born companion and fellow mortal. I doot no whiles but thou my thief. What then, poor beastie, thou mun live? A demon nicker in a three's a small request. I'll get a blessing, wi' the leave, and never missed. Thy wee bit hoosie too in ruin, it silly was the winds are strewing, and naething now to big a new ane o' foggage green, and bleak December's winds and strewing, baith snell and keen. Thou saw the fields laid bare and waste, and weary winter coming fast, but cosy here beneath the blast thou thought to dwell, till crash the cruel coulter passed out through thy cell. That wee bit heap o' leaves and stibble has cost thee many a weary nibble. Now thou's turned out for all thy trouble, but hoose or hold, to thole the winter's sleety dribble, and Cranrich called. But Moosie, thou are no thy lane, and proving foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes o' mice and men gang after gley, and leave us naught but grief and pain for promised joy. Still, thou art blessed compared wi' me. The present only toucheth thee, but och, I backward cast my ee on prospects drear, and forward, though I canna see, I guess and fear. Gosh, you think Robert Burns had written that for today, wouldn't you? Stay safe, stay well, stay in. That's all we've got to do. Take care. Maybe next year, fingers crossed, we'll all get together. All the best.
Jane, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, 7 years ago in 2014, Jane served a year at the pinnacle of the worldwide Burns movement as president of the Robert Burns World Federation. And during a very busy year, travelling the world, she found time to come and visit us at Seton Burns Club and do us the immense honour of proposing a quite magnificent toast to the immortal memory of Robert Burns at our Lads and Lasses supper that year. It was an unforgettable night, and she's remained our friend ever since. We're delighted that she was able to contribute to our virtual celebration this evening, and Jane, on behalf of us all, thank you very much indeed. And now we come to the second of our musical artists, and it's a particular pleasure for me to be able to introduce Becca Hunter singing 2 of Burns' best known songs.
If I realize nothing can resist my Nancy, for to see her was to love her. Love but her and love forever. Had we never loved so kindly, had we never loved so blindly, never met nor never parted, we'd have never been broken hearted. Fare thee well, my first and fairest. Fare thee well, my best and dearest. Thine be like joy and treasure, peace and joy and love and pleasure. If one kiss and then we sever, if I will last forever, deep in the heart run tears, I pledge thee. Pouring sighs and groans I'll wage thee. There's no bouquet on every hand, and every year that passes on signifies life of man. It's ready for the last season. Green and grow the ashes, oh, green and grow the ashes, oh, the sweetest days that I've spent among the lassies, the way they raise me richest chase, and richest stem and fly them, oh, and when at last they catch them fast, their hearts can never enjoy them. Give me a caveat at them, my arms about my deity, oh, and Willie kiss and Willie man, and give your types of tea, oh, green and grow the ashes, oh, green and grow the ashes, oh, the sweetest days that I've spent among the lassies, oh. For you say to just needed this, and no percent of sasses, oh, the wisest man the world saw, and really loved the lassies, oh. For nature sways in lovely dears, and noblest work she classes, oh, apprentice hand she tried on mine, and then she made the lassies, oh, green and grow the ashes, oh, green and grow the ashes, oh,
songs sung beautifully by Becca. Now, full disclosure here, I of course am biased, as Becca happens to be my niece and she's been singing at Burn Suppers since she was 3. She's now 17, a classmate of Caris, who played the pipes for us earlier, and she's also in her final year of high school. She's actually head girl at Preston Lodge this year, and Becca goes off to university later this year to study music. I'm sure that comes as no surprise to you, and I'm sure you all agree with me that she has a bright future ahead of her. Thank you, Becca, and well done. We now return to the world of poetry, and our focus will now move from the soaring emotions of love to the description of a louse crawling through the hair of a haughty, well-dressed churchgoer. My friend David Morgan will now set the scene.
Thank you for that most wonderful introduction, Mr. Chairman. So it's late 1785. Robert Burns is in church and he's sitting behind Jenny, who's resplendent with her new Lunardi bonnet on, named after a balloonist of the time. She obviously thinks she's the bee's knees, but she doesn't know that everybody behind her can see a louse crawling about on her bonnet. It's a little comical poem, but as always with Burns, it's got a serious meaning, and that'll come out in the last verse. So, to a louse. Oh, where you gone, you crowling fairly? Your impudence protects you sairly. I canna say, but you strunt rarely o'er gauze and lace, though faith, I fear you dine so sparely on sic a place. Ya ugly, creeping, blasted oner, detested, shunned by sant or sinner, how dare you set your fit upon her, sae fine a lady? Gae somewhere else and seek your dinner on some poor body. Swith, in some beggar's half-it squattle, where you may creep and sprawl and sprattle, with other kindred jumping cattle in shoals and nations, where horn nor bane ne'er dare and settle your thick plantations. Now had you there, you're out of sicht, below the fartrel snug and ticht. Ah, faith, you'll no be richt till you get on it, the very topmost tiring height o' Mrs. Bonnet. My sooth, richt bold you set your nose out, as plump and grey as ony grusset. Oh, for some rank mercurial russet or fell red smedum, I'd gie you sic a hair to dozy it, would dress your druddum. I wouldn't have been surprised to spy you on some old wife's flainin' toy, or abling some bit duddy boy on his wily coat. But Mrs. Fine Lunardi, fie, how dare you do it? Oh Jenny, dinna toss your heed, and set your beauties o'er breed. Ye little ken what cursed speed the blast is makin', they winks and finger ends I fear, unnoticed tackin'. Oh, would some power the gift to gie us, to see ourselves as others see us, it would for many a blunder free us in foolish notion, what airs and dress and gaits would leave us, and even devotion. Thank you.
Absolutely magnificent, David. Thank you and well done. David's superb delivery there illustrates the genius of Robert Burns. Earlier you heard Jane recite the mouse, Burns' skillful conversion of the scattering of a mouse's nest into an allegory about the precarious nature of man's life. In the louse, Burns once again makes a trivial and commonplace event, certainly in those days, a louse in someone's hair, into a passionate commentary on hypocrisy and pompousness. To see ourselves as others see us. Absolute genius. A wonderful poem, and you won't hear it recited more expertly than that. Well done, David, and thank you, my friend. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're in for a treat. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Pipe Major Rod Payton and Caris, both from Cocken's in Port Seton Royal British Legion Pipes and Drums, for our Piper's selection. Fantastic, Rod and Caris. Quite outstanding. Thank you very much indeed. And now, time for some more poetry. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Alan Owenson with his rendition of A Parcel o' Rogues.
By way of background, this poem reflects Robert Burns' suspicions and concerns about the motives of the Scottish nobleman who signed Scotland up with England to the Act of the Union in 1707. I think it's fair to say that Robert Burns perhaps thought that the Scottish noblemen were acting more out of financial self-interest than they were of the interests of Scotland. Sic a parcel o' rogues. Farewell to a' our Scottish fame, farewell our ancient glory, farewell even to the Scottish name, sae famed in martial story. Now Sark runs ere the Solway sands, and Tweed runs to the ocean, to mark where England's province stands, sic a parcel o' rogues in a nation. What force or guile could not subdue, through many warlike ages, is rocked now by a coward few, through hireling traitors' wages. The English style we could disdain, secure in valour's station, but English gold has been our bane, sic a parcel o' rogues in a nation. O would our eye had seen the day that treason thus could sell us, ma all grey-heated leaning clay wi' Bruce and loyal Wallace. But pith and power, till my last hour, I'll mak this declaration, we're bought and sold for English gold, sic a parcel o' rogues in a nation. Thank you.
Fabulous, Alan. Thank you very much indeed. Alan's been a good friend of mine for many years, and he's a stalwart of the Thorntree Mystic Burns Club, one of our neighbouring clubs. The Thorntree Mystic were instrumental in helping us 36 years ago as we were establishing ourselves from scratch, and our close ties hold strong to this day. I'm delighted that Alan was able to showcase his talent and his passion for the bard with that wonderful poem tonight, and I thank him very much. Thanks, Alan. And now it's time for the third of our musical artists. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Ross Hamilton.
Well, good evening everyone. I hope you're all well and staying safe during these weird times that we find ourselves in. I'm going to sing a couple of Burns songs for you tonight. The first one being The Lyric. When o'er the hill the eastern star tells Barton time is near, my Joe, and ouse and frae the furrowed field return, say douf and weary you, down by the burn where bark and buds we dew are hanging clear, my Joe, I'll meet thee on the lyric, my ain kind dearie. At midnight in Marquest Glen, at Roven there be Erio, if The next one I'm going to sing for you tonight is certainly my favourite Burn song, and that's a song called The Parcel of Rogues in a Nation. Farewell to all our Scottish fame, farewell our ancient glory, farewell even to our Scottish name, say famed in martial story. New Sargrand o'er the Solway sands, and Tweed runs to the ocean, to mark where England's province stands. Sick a parcel of rogues in a nation. What force or guile could not subdue through many warlike ages is wrought now by a coward few, for hire traitors' wages. The English steel we could disdain, secure in valor's station, but English gold has been no bane. Sick a parcel of rogues in a nation. Oh, would or I had seen the day that treason thus could sail us. My old grey heap had lain in clay, wi' Bruce and loyal Wallace. But pith and power till my last hour, I'll mark this declaration: we are bought and sold for English gold. Sick a parcel of rogues in the nation, sick a parcel of rogues in the nation, sick a parcel of rogues in a nation.
Ross, that was outstanding. Thank you. You may have noticed, ladies and gentlemen, that Ross's second song was Parcel of Rogues, the same poem that we heard recited by Alan Owenson a short while ago. This quite perfectly illustrates the strength and versatility of Burns's work, that a single piece can both be a powerful and angry poem and yet at the same time be a beautiful song. Now, Ross has been performing at our Burn Suppers for many years now, since he was a teenager in fact, and he has a heavy involvement in many local music and drama groups. He also exemplifies the family-based nature of our Burns Club. His grandfather proposed the immortal memory at our second ever Burn Supper back in 1988, and I know that old Cosser Brown will be smiling down today with pride upon his grandson. Well done, Ross, and thank you both for today and for everything you've always done for us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special treat for you, and for many, I know that this is the part of our evening that they most look forward to. It gives me enormous pleasure to introduce to you my dear friend Billy Horn and ask him to recite Tam Shanter.
Probably the greatest poem ever written by the greatest poet who ever lived. Tam Shanter, a tale. When Chapman Billies leave the streets and drouthy neighbours meet, as market days are wearing late and folk begin to tack the gate, while we sit boozing at the nappy, getting fou and unco happy, we think not on the lang Scots miles, the mosses, water, slaps and stiles that lie between us and our hame, or sits our sulky, sullen dame, gathering her brews like gathering storm, nursing her wrath to keep it warm. This truth fand honest Tam Shanter, as he for air enacted canter, all there wham ne'er a tune surpasses, for honest men and bonny lasses. Ah, Tam, hadst thou but been sae wise, as ta'en thy ain wife Kate's advice, she told thou weel thou was a skellum, a blethering, blustering, drunken blellum, that fae November till October, in market day thou wasna sober, that ilka melder with the miller, thou sat as lang as thou had siller, that every naig was caught a shoe on, the smith and thee got roaring fou on, that at the Lord's hoose, e'en on Sunday, thou drank with Captain Jean till Monday. She prophesied that late or soon thou would be fund, deep drowned in doon, or catched wi' warlocks in the mirk by Alloway's old haunted kirk. Ah, gentle dames, it gars me greet to think who many counsels sweet, who many lengthened sage advices the husband for the wife despises. But to our tale, ae market night, Tam had got planted and correct, fast by an angle, bleezing finely, with reaming swats that drank divinely, and at his elbow, Suitor Choney, his ancient trusty drouthy crony. Tam looed him like a vera brother. They had been fou for weeks together. The night drave on with sangs and clattering. Aye, the ale was growing better. The landlady and Tam grew gracious, with favours secret, sweet and precious. The suitor told his queerest stories. The landlord's laugh was ready chorus. The storm without micht rear and rustle. Tam didna mind the storm a whistle. Care, mad to see a man sae happy, e'en drowned himsel amang the nappy. As bees flee hame with lads o' treasure, the minutes winged their way with pleasure. Kings may be blessed, but Tam was glorious, o'er all the ills o' life victorious. But pleasures are like poppies spread. You seize the flower, the bloom is shed, or, like the snow falls in the river, a moment white, then melts forever, or, like the borealis race that flit ere you can point their place, or like the rainbow's lovely form, vanishing amid the storm. Nae man can tether time nor tide, the hour approaches Tam man ride. That hour o' nicht's black irch the keystane, that dreary hour he mounts his beast in, and sick a nicht he tacks the road in, as ne'er peer sinner was abroad in. The wind blew as 'twould blawn its last, the rattling showers rose on the blast, the speedy gleams the darkness swallowed, loud, deep and lang the thunder bellowed. That night a child micht understand, the deil had business on his horns. Weel, mounted on his grey mare, Meg, a better never lifted leg, Tam skelped on through dub and mire, despising wind and rain and fire, whilst holding fast his gib blue bonnet, whilst crooning out an old Scots sonnet, whilst glowering round with prudent cares, lest bogles catched him unawares, Kirkalloway was drawing nigh where geese and hoolets nichtly cry. But this time it was crossed the ford where in the snaw the chapmen smoored, and past the birks and Michelstein where drunken Charlie Brack's neck bane, and through the winds and by the cairn where hunters fund the murdered bairn, and near the thorn abin the well where Mungo's mother hanged hersel. Before him Doon pours all his floods, the Dublin storm roars through the woods, the lightnings flash frae pole to pole, near and more near the thunder's roll, when, glimmering through the groaning trees, Kirkalloway seemed in a breeze. Through ilka bore the beams were glancing, and loud resounded mirth and dancing. Inspiring bold John Barleycorn, what dangers thou canst mak us scorn. With tippenny we fear nae evil, with Usquaby we'd face the devil. The swats sae reamed in Tammy's noddle. Fair play, Tam cared nae deals a boddle, but Maggie stood rich sair astonished, till by the heel and hand admonished, she ventured for it on the licht, and whoa, Tam saw an unco sicht. Warlocks and witches in a dance, nae cotillon bren new for France, but hornpipes, jigs, straths, pies and reels, but life and metal in their heels. A win-up bunker in the east, there sat old Nick in shape o' beast, a toozy tight black grim and large, to gie them music was his charge. He screwed the pipes and gat them skill till roof and rafters all did dirl. Coffins stood round like open presses that shod the deed in their last dresses, and by some devilish cane-trapped slicht, each in his cauld hand held a licht, by which heroic Tam was able to note upon the haly table a murderer's banes and gibbet airns, twa span lang wee unchrissant bairns, a thief new cutted fair rape, with his last gasp is gabbed and gape, 5 tomahawks with blood red rusted, 5 scimitars in murder crusted, a garter which a babe had strangled, a knife a father's throat had mangled, whom his ain son o' life bereft, the grey hairs yet stack to the heft, wi' mair o horrible and awful, which e'en to name would be unlawful. 3 lawyers' tongues turned inside out, wi' lies seemed like a beggar's clout. 3 priests' hearts, rotten, black as muck, lay stinking, vile in every nyuck. As Tammy glowered, amazed and curious, the mirth and fun grew fast and furious. The piper loud and louder blew, the dancers quick and quicker flew. They reeled, they set, they crossed, they cleekit, till ilka carl and swat and reekit, and coosed her daddies to the wark, and linkit at it in her sark. Oh, Tam, oh, Tam, had they been queens, so plump and strapping in their teens, their serks instead o' creasy flannin been snow-white, 1700 linen. Their breeks o' mine, my only pair, the ains were plush o' gid blue hair. I would ha' gi'en them half my hardies for a blink o' the bonny birdies. But withered beldams, auld and droll, rugwoody hags would speen a foal, louping and flinging on a crummock. I wonder didna turn thy stomach. But Tam kenned what was what fu brawly. There was a winsome wench and Wally that nicht enlisted in the corps. Lang after kenned on Carrick shore, for many a beast to deed she shot and perished, many a bonny boat, and shook baith meikle corn and beer, and kept the countryside in fear. Her cutty sark o' paisley horn, that while a lassie she had worn, in longitude, though sorely scanty, it was her best, and she was vaunty. Ha! Little kenned thy reverend granny, that sark she coughed for her wee nanny with twa pun Scotch. 'Twas all riches, would ever graced a dance o' witches. But here my muse, her wingman cour, 6 flights is far beyond her poor to sing who nane lap and fly. A supple judge she was, and stry, and who Tam stood like ane bewitched, and thought his very een enriched. Een Seton glowered and fidged fu fain, and hotched and blew wi' micht and main till, first a caper, syne another, Tam tint his reason a' thegither, and roars out, "Well done, Cutty Sark!" And in an instant all was dark, and scarcely had he Maggie rallied, when out the hellish legion sallied, as bees bizz out wi' angry fyke when plundering herds assail their bite, as open puss's mortal foes when pop she starts before their nose, as eager runs the market crowd when "Catch the thief!" resounds aloud. So Maggie runs, the witches follow, with many an eldritch squealing hollow. Oh damn, they'll get thy fairin', in hell they'll roast thee like a hern. In vain thy Kate awaits thy coming, Kate soon will be a woeful woman. So do thy speedy utmost, Meg, and win the keystane o' the brig. There at them thou thy tail may toss, a running stream they darena cross. But ere the keystane she could make, the faint o' tail she had to shake, for Nanny, far before the rest, hard upon noble Maggie pressed, and flew at Tam with furious ettle. But little was she Maggie's mettle, a spring brocht off her master hail, but left behind her ain grey tail. The carlin clocht her by the rump, and left puir Maggie scarce a stump. Now, wha this tale o' truth shall read, ilk man and mother's son tak heed. Whene'er to drink ye are inclined, or Cutty Sarks run in your mind, think ye may buy the joys our dear. Remember Tam o' Shanter's mare. Cheers.
Wow, just wow. Ladies and gentlemen, there are many who say that Tam o' Shanter is the greatest of all of Burns's works. And that, of course, is a matter of personal preference and debate. But what's not up for debate is that you will never hear a more excellent rendition of that poem than you've heard tonight. Now, Billy's been a friend of mine for decades, and he's regarded by all who meet him far and wide as an authority on the life and works of Burns. He's a past president of the Airts Burns Club, another one of our neighbouring clubs who helped us during our formation in the 1980s. And as I said earlier, Billy is the past winner of a World Championship Poetry Recital competition. Reciting? Yes, you've guessed it. Tam o' Shanter. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming towards the end of our programme this evening. The Seton Burns Club operates under a core set of values. We strive to be at the heart of our community and to maintain and nurture the legacy of the works of Robert Burns. Accordingly, we reach out and we offer support to local community groups such as the local Scouts, Cockenzie Scouts, the Village Gala Committee, the Pipe Band, from whom you've heard this evening, and our local primary school. In addition to financial donations to each of these groups, we also work with them to assist in their own Burns activities. For example, we help the local Scouts with the production of their annual supper. We help the local primary school children in their preparation for their Burns celebrations, and we help judge their poetry competitions and put up prizes for them every year. Now, obviously, our fundraising events which underpin these community support activities have been completely disrupted this year, but we still intend to financially support all of these groups. Anything you can do to help us achieve this by way of a small donation will be gratefully received, and I assure you, faithfully applied. To do so, please click on our donation link on the screen, and in advance of anyone doing so, thank you very much indeed. Before closing with Auld Lang Syne, I'd like to offer our heartfelt thanks to all of our artists who have contributed to our programme. Caris Grieve, Duncan Morgan, Gareth Evans, Jane Brown, Becca Hunter, David Morgan, Rod Payton, Alan Owenson, Ross Hamilton, and of course, Billy Horn. Thanks are also due to Dean Howie of Pinnacle Films, who pulled this all together for us from the recording and IT aspects, and we can thoroughly recommend his services. Thanks are also due to my friends and colleagues on the Seton Burns Club Committee, Jim Bailey, Duncan Morgan and David Morgan, for their dedication and hard work behind the scenes throughout the entire year. Thanks very much, guys. It's a privilege to be part of your team. Lastly, but most importantly, our thanks go to you, our audience, who are by extension the members of Seton Burns Club. Take care, my friends, stay safe, and we'll see you all again in person when this pandemic has passed. In the meantime, keep an eye on our Facebook page for news of our upcoming events, and all remains for me to say is Lang Meir Lumreek. Thank you, good night.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to light? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for days of old lang syne.
We twae run about the braes and about the gowans fine, but we've wandered mony a weary fit sin days of old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup o' kindness yet for days of old lang syne. And there's a hand, my trusty fear, and he's a hand o' thine, and we'll take a wicked wally work for old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup o' kindness yet for old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup o' kindness yet for old lang syne. Thanks very much, Becca. That was fantastic. Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our night. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks again.